Hey everyone, March Shikari here bringing you guys the Monday Music Recap, the events from last week. Let's get into it. Now, for this first story I wanted to talk about, it's going to take a little bit of time simply because there's a lot of information and I do want to share my personal thoughts and opinions on it. Now, it is going to be over Far Cry 5, so it's not going to be important, and if you want to skip ahead of that, that's perfectly fine. But I had this whole script written out for the news flash that was supposed to come out on Thursday, and I just didn't have enough time to make it. So I decided to take that script and just put it to the Monday Music Recap for you guys. With that being said, I'm not going to talk about the controversies behind this game because with this reveal, those have pretty much died down. I know a lot of alt-rights were worried that this game was going to be focused on painting religious people in a bad light, and that's not what's really going on here. It's not what's going on here at all, in fact. This game is more focused on cults, if anything. But with that being said, let's get into it. Ubisoft has revealed the official reveal trailer for Far Cry 5, along with a couple of new videos to introduce the world and some of the characters a part of it. And the world just looks absolutely fantastic. It looks so beautiful. Let's hope it looks that way at launch, seeing as Ubisoft's past track record with previous titles has not been stellar. But let's get into some details on the game. So according to Gamestop, Far Cry 5 will be the first one that will allow players to customize their main character, and the full campaign will have co-op in it, which is something that Ubisoft has been toying with ever since Far Cry 3, and to be honest, it's a nice touch. I really enjoyed it in Far Cry 4. I just hope that there are more activities for players to do who are playing co-op. That was something that was lacking in Far Cry 4. But let's jump into a little bit of the game itself and the campaign. So the story starts off that you're playing as a sheriff, apparently, going to arrest the leader of an expanding religious cult known as Eden's Gate, who has set up in Hope County, Montana, and has been forcefully taking in new members. Eden's Gate, the cult, is run by the family seed, which is made up of Father Joseph, who is a leader, and his siblings Jacob, John, and Faith. Now, the location alone makes this game vastly different than previous titles, as we're no longer dealing with the situation that involved us being in a heavily isolated and exotic location. We're instead in our own backyards with crops, fields, lakes, churches, bars, cows, dogs, deers, and bears. And I'm not going to lie, it is a tidbit concerning seeing as the locations were a key element in the Far Cry series. That and radio towers, but that's a different story. All jokes aside, it's going to be pretty difficult to incorporate ways of making the rural outbacks of Montana feel like the exotic jungles or mountains in previous games that had hidden temples, shrines, and other secrets and unlockables discovered scattered throughout the lands that made it an absolute blast to explore. Now, I'm not trying to sound condescending in any way, and I am asking legitimately to people who live in Montana or anybody who has a history of it, what would drive a player to spend hours upon hours exploring a visual representation of it? Like, was there a large native settlement there back in the day? Was there a large western settlement? Like, what was there that Ubisoft could use to build the adventure aspect of this game? What is there that we can go out and discover these locations and find these artifacts that that give us more backstory on the land and the people of the land? That's something that I'm very interested in seeing and how they're going to handle in this game and whether they're going to try and move away from it. Because if they try to move away from it, that's going to suck. And I know that Montana has some beautiful locations, like they have Yellowstone and they have the Rockies, and I know that Ubisoft can definitely utilize those to create these very unique and amazing locales in the game, but it's like that can't be all there is to it. Now, one last thing before we move on to the rest of the news, and that's the story. I'd like to say that I'm hopeful for it, but I'm worried about that as well. I'm more of a logic nitpicker. Anybody who knows me will tell you that. If something doesn't logically make sense to me in a game, especially towards its own universe, its own canon universe, I lose that sense of immersion towards the game. Not getting into too much speculation because I haven't played any of the game at all, but from what I've seen, we have a religious cult that is heavily armed with military-grade weapons and is forcefully enlisting people to their cause under the threat of death, and we have another growing faction of resistance fighters that will probably spill out into a civil war like we've seen in every other Far Cry title. And the US government decides its best course of action to deal with this escalating situation is to send in some sheriffs to arrest the main leader of the cult. A cult, might I add, that is driving around in broad daylight with miniguns strapped to their trucks. Like it's GTA Online. To me, it just seems like a pretty forced narrative, or at least a narrative that could have been based on some semblance of reality, but then it was taken to an extreme to try and make the game setting fit with the Far Cry series. And I know there are going to be some people out there who are going to be like, what about games like GTA? They do this all the time. And they do it all the time. The difference, though, is that in GTA, if you commit a felony in broad daylight, 9 out of 10 times there is going to be a response from authority to try and stop you. This response can also escalate based off of what kind of crimes you've committed and if you continue to cause more mayhem. I don't know, though. Let me know if you agree or disagree down below in the comments, and also let me know why. Do you think that I'm just thinking too hard on this? I know it is just a video game, but I do like my video games to have some continuity to them. But the game is definitely going to be one that I check out at some point. I just hope that it's able to capture that same sense of wonder that I got from Far Cry 3 and 4. That's all I'm really hoping for. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. We got another new trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming, and this one actually gives us a better look at Spidey's suit and some of the tech that comes with it, seeing as it was built by Tony Stark. Have I mentioned that I'm really excited for this movie? Because I am. Check it out below if you're interested. We also got a new trailer for the new Netflix series, Castlevania, which is based off the video game series of the same name. Check it out below if you're interested. It is anime, so if you're not into that, I don't know. Finally, speaking of both Tom Holland, who's playing Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the Homecoming movie, and video games getting screen adaptations, Sony Pictures has announced that Tom Holland has been signed on as young Nathan Drake in the big screen adaptation of Uncharted. Now, I want to emphasize the fact that they said young, most likely referring to the portions of Uncharted 3 where we see Drake and Sullivan meeting for the first time. I want to bring this up because a lot of people seem to be missing that part and assuming that he's playing the older Nathan Drake that we're all used to. Now, it definitely seems like the story is going to be a prequel on the series and is going to focus on a younger Nathan Drake. The script is apparently being redrafted to fit that. And I'm actually excited about that. That's something that, other than the short portion in Uncharted 3 and somewhat in 4, hasn't really been touched upon in the series so far, but we know that him and Sullivan have been going on these adventures for quite some time now. So there's definitely an opening in that timeline for a movie to fit right in and still be canon. Moving on, Red Dead Redemption 2's release date has been pushed back to spring of 2018, but with this announcement from Rockstar, they have also released new screenshots for the game. Sleeping with Sirens' Kellen Quinn has announced via tweet that the new record the band has been working on has been finished. Goldfinger has announced they'll be releasing their first album in 9 years called The Knife. It is set to be released on July 21st through Rise Records, and the details on it can be found below. Brendon Smalls, who many know him as the creator of Death Clock, has announced that his side project, Brendon Smalls' Galaktikon, will be releasing their sophomore album, Galaktikon 2, Become the Storm, on August 25th through Megaforce Records. I apologize if I mispronounced that name. But the dude's a beast at making music, and what he makes just always is awesome to me, so I'm really excited to hear it. Trapped Under Ice has announced their new album, Heatwave, which is set to be released on July 21st. Tracklist, artwork, and pre-order details can be found below. And there's been a new update to the Faceless story we talked about, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't remember when. Anyways, if you didn't get a chance to watch the video, basically the Faceless dropped out of their Australian tour, which caused their promoter, Soundworks Touring, to slam the band and their management on social media over them lying to them. The band's manager then released his own statement to try and defend himself from Soundworks' claims and then said that he would no longer be working with the band. Faceless then decided to release their own statement where they claimed that they had missed a couple of dates due to their gear being stolen and flight delays, and then they turned around and claimed that it was actually Soundworks Touring's fault for them dropping out due to the way the band had been treated. Well, the new update comes from UK Tech Metal Festival, who the Faceless were scheduled to play on. They've released a statement that the Faceless have not only dropped out of their festival appearance, but have also canceled all of their EU tour dates this year. As of right now, in making this video, the Faceless have not released any statements whatsoever regarding this, so I'm guessing until either they decide to release one or someone else comes up with more information, we're not going to know the reasoning behind it. It just really sucks for their fan base, as we're starting to see the sad descent of the Faceless, who is actually a pretty damn good band, but this reoccurring trend of them just canceling tours without much reasoning is making them a unreliable band in terms of touring, which sucks. What doesn't suck, though, is that Guns N' Roses has announced they have extended their Not in This Lifetime North American reunion tour. They have also announced the opening acts, including Deftones, ZZ Tops, Sturgill Simpson, Live, and Our Lady Peace. Dates released. One OK Rock has announced they're heading on a new North American tour this summer with support from Set It Off and Palisades. Dates released. And I got to apologize real quick because I'm out of Doom footage, so we got to jump back over to Overwatch to finish off this episode with. Hope you don't mind that. Anyways, let's get into the new music of the week, and we have Rise Against, House of Fire, Enter Shikari, Supercharge, Ice Nine Killed featuring Sam Kubrick, Enjoy Your Slay. Enjoy Your Slay is actually a song that's based off The Shining, and interesting enough, Sam Kubrick, who's featured on the song, is the grandchild of Stanley Kubrick, who I think was like the director of The Shining. I don't remember exactly what he was, but he had a direct part with The Shining. Anyways, we have In Heart's Wake, Waterbone, Ocean's 8, Alaska, Covert, 18 Vision, The Disease, The Design, and The Wasted Time, Goldfinger, Put the Knife Away, The Night Games, which is Martin Johnson's Boys Like Girls. He's the vocalist of Boys Like Girls. It's his new project. The Outfield, Municipal Waste, Slime and Punishment, and Chan, Waterslide. And for new music videos, we have Of Mice and Men, Back to Me, Memphis Mayfire, That's Just Life, Upon a Burning Body, Distorted Reflection, Beartooth, Sick of Me, Stone Sour, Song 3, Cold Black, Circles, The Gospel Youth, Moods Like English Weather, 311, Too Much to Think, and Broadside Paradise. Be sure to check out all of those if you're interested. Check out any new bands that you guys haven't heard of that you're interested in checking out. New music is always a wonderful thing. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you want more, and I will see you all in the next one. Mars out.